Warm welcome and good afternoon to all the faculty mentors and students. I am Robin from the PALS Program Management Office, and I will be your point of contact from the PMO side. So for easier identification, we request you to rename your Zoom display name as college short name hyphen your name. All the participants will remain muted during the session. You will be allowed to unmute only during the Q&A. The chat box will be restricted. You may message only the host or co-host. It will be enabled for all participants only when required. If you have a question for the speakers, please send it to askpalspmo@gmail.com. This email will be monitored throughout the session. Remember to include your name and college short name along with your question. Another way to ask your question is by using the raise hand option to interact directly with the speaker. So the attendance link will be shared in the chat box. Please use your registered email ID to mark your attendance. And at the beginning of the session, kindly register on Slido. And at the end of the session, a feedback link will be shared. We request you to fill it out. Now I request Mr. Bharani to give the introduction about PALS and introduction about the speaker.
Okay, thank you, Robin. Okay, this webinar is part of our webinar series, which we already had 3 sessions so far. This is the 4th one in that going on. This is open for everybody. However, this is mandatory for all the Innova participants. We have mentioned that. See, today this webinar is going to be conducted by Ms. Ramya Ramesh. She is a professional architect and co-founder of this company, Design Toolbox, which is mainly focused on education on the design and research. So we are very lucky that we have a professional person who is going to talk to us about design with empathy. For any product development, design thinking is very, very important. So we have been emphasizing on this all along, and how important it is, and what way you can be successful when you design a product. How you have to be empathetic towards your customer. We are going to learn all those things today in this session. I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting session. We always wanted all of you to be very interactive. That's why we opened up the Slido, and also Ms. Ramya also is expecting you to be very interactive. Please ask the questions, raise your hands. We will make arrangements for you to talk to the speaker directly. So please feel free to ask questions and clarify your doubts. So welcome, Ms. Ramya. I am handing over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And welcome to all the 160 participants from different colleges. I see that you're all from different places, so I think this is a great platform for us to discuss and brainstorm. So I'm usually used to sessions where I build up upon students' responses, right? So the more you respond, the more you raise your hand, and the more you voice out your thoughts, the better the session is going to be, not just for you, but for everybody else who is part of the session, right? So, and the best part about today's session is, or the field of design, is that there is no wrong answer, right? And there is no right answer. It's all a matter of interpretation. It's all a matter of what is more appropriate for a particular situation, right? So my request is that without hesitation, you voice out your thoughts, either through the chat box or by raising your hands when I ask you. I think Robin will be able to moderate the session better. So at any point, Robin, please suggest what would be the best way for them to respond for the question that I'm asking.
Yes.
And the session is going to be full of questions. Apart from 5 slides which have some conceptual ideas of designing with empathy, apart from that, it's just going to be full of questions. Okay, so the more you participate, the better the session is going to be. Yeah. All right. So I think we can start. Shall I share my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to start with the question. right? What do you mean by design? What does design process consist of according to you? Robin, do you think they can raise their hand and answer or use the chat box?
Yes, they can use the. So participant, you can use the chat box for the answers, as well as you can raise your hand. So I can unmute you.
So I'll repeat my question.
Yeah. So one answer has come from Swati, TEC, to attract the product.
Sorry, I'm not able to read the answers because I'm sharing my screen.
Yeah,
so...
I will read out. I will read out. Myself and Barney sir will read out. No worry.
Okay, okay. So what was the first answer?
To attract the
To
product.
attract product designing.
Okay, to attract people.
Oh,
They have said to attract the product.
To attract the product. Okay. To you mean you
I
probably
think-
mean to
I
make
think
the
what they
product
mean
more
is-
attractive.
Yeah, that's what they
All
mean.
right.
Yeah,
Is that?
make
Great.
it more
What
attractive.
else?
Yeah.
What else? What does designing entail? What do you mean by design? What are the words that come to your mind when I say the word design? Anything that comes to your mind.
Innovate something. That's the next
To-
answer. Abhijay.
Abhijit.
Okay.
Abhijay. Yeah.
Abhijit Singh. Abhijit Singh.
Fine. So to innovate something, to make something attractive, what else? Can I have three more?
Ergonomics.
Sorry.
Ergo.
Ergonomics. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Design is how something looks, works, and solves a problem. That's from Darshan Gowda.
Okay. So how something looks, how it works, and how it solves a
problem.
particular problem. Okay. All
Yep.
right.
Creating a
Anything else?
blueprint for fulfilling a purpose.
Creating a blueprint for fulfilling a purpose. So
Yeah.
what would we call that in one word? Can we say planning? Planning for something, right? So creating a blueprint or a plan for solving a purpose. Okay.
Yes.
What else?
Next, creativity is another answer. Uniqueness.
Okay.
Pitch the idea. Selection of components. Graphic design. Build the model as satisfying the user need.
Okay. Okay.
Designing is a process to create a product with innovation and creativity.
Great. I think that really summarizes everything else that has been said before.
That's by Per Arasu. Okay.
Sorry?
And
No, his name is
that answer was from Per Arasu.
Okay.
Next is to convey our idea in easiest way. Abhin Chakochan.
Yes. Okay.
Hemant Chandran has said structural design. I don't know what you mean by that. Navin Kumar says pitch the idea with the creativity.
Sure. So
Swati has again answered express our mind by creating creativity. Okay. Yeah, I think we can go to the next
sure.
one.
Okay, great. So I think we have enough answers. I hope all of you are able to read each other's answer, right? So we have a component of creativity, there is a component of planning, and there is a component of innovation, of newness, uniqueness. Then on one hand, you're talking about the whole tug between what looks good and what is more usable, and that design is this process between these two seemingly opposite poles, right? So I think we are spot on, and I think we are on the same page when it comes to designing, right? What do you mean by the word empathy? What comes to your mind when I say empathy? Have you come across this word often? In what context have you come across it? Any answers? What do you mean by empathy? You can also Google, huh? This is not a exam. You can also Google
we have answers.
What empathy means. Yes.
Understands others' feeling.
Okay. Understanding others' feelings. All right.
An ability to understand one's feeling, that is the same thing. Connect with the user. Connection or bonding. Putting yourself in someone else's shoes.
Right.
Empathy is understanding and sharing another person's feeling to understand other problem. So empathy means the ability to imagine, to analyze a problem standing in other shoes, that same thing.
Yes.
Understanding and giving importance to other feeling, share the feelings to someone, understanding others' perspective.
Sure. So I think we have enough answers in that direction, right? So we're saying understanding feelings, understanding perspectives, right? So can we quickly get some answers on what is the difference between empathy and sympathy? Have you heard of the word sympathy? So if this is empathy, getting into other people's shoes and understanding their feelings and perspectives, what is sympathy? Any answers?
Empathy means to act accordingly, while sympathy means a feeling only.
Okay. All right. Any other answers?
Feeling for someone, that is sympathy.
Okay.
Showing pity.
Sure. Okay.
Sympathy is showing mercy.
Right.
To understand someone feeling. Empathy shows understanding. Sympathy is showing care.
Okay.
Lot of answers are coming. Sympathy,
Sure.
I know how you feel. Empathy, I feel how you feel.
I think that's a great answer, right? Where you say sympathy, I know how you feel, but I don't feel it, right? So I'm not as connected to you. I feel bad for you because you feel in a certain way, but I'm still the outsider, right? I'm not involved in trying to understand the feelings or the reasons why you feel in a certain way. Whereas when I'm talking about empathy, it is about putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, where you're trying to understand why they feel or behave in a certain way and what makes them do that. Right? So today we are going to be talking about designing with empathy and different ways, different approaches that we can take, different philosophies that we can follow for designing with empathy. Right? So I'm going to start with some concepts. Yeah, so this is Don Norman. He is an interaction designer and he has written these two very wonderful books, The Design of Everyday Things and Design for a Better World, right? Just before we go forward, anecdotally, what do you think about this teapot? Do you like it? What do you think about this teapot? Is there some problem with it?
Maybe we can have some voices here. Huh?
Does somebody want to raise their hand and speak?
Yeah, if anybody wants to answer. Yes, the handle is on the wrong side. One answer.
Okay. The handle is on the wrong side.
It's the wrong side, yeah.
Okay. Why? So why do you think this is the cover of a book on design?
It's not serving the purpose. That is the answer they are giving.
It's not serving the purpose. That's correct, right? That's the first thing that we see, that the handle is on the wrong side. Why do you think it's the book cover of this very famous book on design?
So some more answers also. Communication between user and creator.
Sure. Right? That's
And
what the book is about.
one more answer is to grab the attention.
Okay. Both, right? So to
Yeah.
bring your attention to design and the importance of design. And second is to also bring your attention to the relationship between the creator and the user. Yeah. Let's go
And
forward
one more
with,
answer is also, Ramya, on the teapot is too hot, handle is wrong side. When I
okay.
served to someone, it affects me.
Sure. Right. So when we say user, we are we thinking of the person who's drinking the tea, or are we thinking of the person who's serving the tea? Are we thinking of the person who's making the tea? right? Several questions. Yeah. So I think that was the whole purpose of the book cover, to get us thinking about these things. Yeah. So I'll just take you through some concepts that came about in the 1970s, right? So there was this whole idea of user-centered design. You must all have heard about user-centered design. You keep using the word user, customer, right? What did it entail? One, it entailed understanding of the context in which a particular product is being used. Okay, it entailed specifying certain requirements of the user, designing solutions, and again evaluating if that solution worked. So user-centered design is essentially an iterative process, right? What do you mean by the word iteration? Can I get some answers? What do you understand by the word iterations or iterative process? Have you heard of the word iterative process?
Repetition or loop, repetitive, cyclic process,
Sure.
repeating.
So repeating, but with modification. After learning from the user again, right? So user-centered design involves the user at different stages of design. First, when you're just thinking of an idea of a particular product. Second, when you're trying to think of giving that product some sort of a form. Third, when you're thinking of testing its usability, right? When you're prototyping. So user-centered design involves the user at various stages of design. And it is an iterative process in the sense that your first solution is not the solution, right? The first solution is always the first draft or the first iteration, where you go back to the field and then you verify, you come back, make modifications, again go back, verify, come back. So it's a kind of a loop that you're saying. It is a repetition, but it is repetition with design development or with modification, right? And the whole purpose of user-centered design is to create usable and accessible products. What is the difference between usability and accessibility? Can I just get an answer on that? Just one or two answers. I'll go ahead. Your understanding of accessibility and usability. What is the difference between the two?
Usable is easy to use.
Okay. Usable is easy to use. That's correct. Any thoughts on the word accessibility? What does accessibility mean?
Easily attainable.
Easily attainable, right? Accessibility is my ability to get to a product before even using it. I may be able to use an iPhone, but I can't afford one, right? So it's not accessible to me, but I can use it, right? So the whole idea of user-centered design was to look at both usability and accessibility by understanding the context of use. We will talk a little more about that, right? And it involves two kinds of methods. One is investigative methods, where you are going through surveys and interviews and different kind of outreach. You're going and trying to investigate and understand user requirements. The other is generative methods, where you're brainstorming with people to understand their requirements. So you're saying something, you're asking a question, then there is a response, and then there are more new ideas that get generated as part of the conversation. So it's not just a matter of collecting information, right? And an important quality of user-centered design is that the team is multidisciplinary. So you have an engineer, you have a designer, you have a researcher, you have an ethnographer, you have a marketer, and all of these people come together and then produce the product, right? Now, in the late in the 1980s around, it was suggested that we change the word user-centered design to human-centered or people-centered design, right? So what do you think is the change here when I change the word user to people? What kind of a difference does it create in your mind?
One answer, empathy has come.
Okay. What else? If I change the word user to human or people, what is the what comes to your mind? What has changed?
Considering all the users, not a particular one.
Okay.
Access to everyone. One more answer.
Okay.
Common users, including consumers.
All right. So you're starting to look at user not just as an individual, but as being part of some community, right? And most importantly, what changed here was that the user was given a face. The user stopped becoming some sort of an abstract, non-human entity to an actual person, right? And this whole idea of user profile started coming in, where you are able to describe the background of a person, to create the story behind a person, right? And to give a face to the user. Yeah. And so, like Don Norman said, when you design, you have to understand the capabilities, what the capabilities are of the people you're designing for, right? What are they capable of? And that can happen only when you imagine the end user as a person and not as some abstract entity, right? So in this approach, what happens is that you start appreciating the fact that people know what they need. And so your what do you say, status in your imagination as a designer is kind of becoming more equal to the user. And you stop looking at designer as somebody who is higher than the user. You start looking at designer as somebody who has different set of skills compared to the user, right? And the four principles of human-centered design or people-centered design are essentially one, it is that one, you recognize that the user already knows some things and you are not above the user. Second, you start investigating and trying to find out what exactly is the problem, right? So you don't create the problem from your assumption. You try to understand exactly what is the problem and you stop bringing your biases into the design process. The third principle is that everything is a system. So you're saying that every component of your product or the ecosystem within which the product is situated, it's all connected. And the usability and accessibility of the product depends on various things and not just on what you are thinking, right? And this kind of an approach calls for small and simple interventions. Like the problem that you're looking at may be very big and very complex, but what you're doing is not a very large intervention that consumes a lot of resources, but your intervention is more systemic in the sense that you're mapping the entire system and then you're saying that this is the small part in which I want to intervene, right? That is what this approach promotes. And then in the late 1990s, with the recognition of all the global challenges like climate change, sustainability, and economic disparity, things like that, that are plaguing us at a global scale, what researchers called for is to even go further from people-centered design into humanity-centered design. So when we say humanity-centered design, we are saying, how can we design in a way that it improves people's lives and the life of humanity in general? It improves humanity in general. So here what is happening is that the designer's responsibility is becoming much broader and much wider, saying that the designer has to recognize and acknowledge the repercussions of their design and take accountability for it, that their design can have larger consequences across humanity, right? And the fact that the designer needs to now start being open to different cultures and different behaviors, different perspectives and practices, right? So this essentially comes from this whole Western notion of, the white savior kind of a syndrome where people feel that they are here to kind of save the world. And that is what this humanity-centered design is questioning. That the designer is not somebody who's over and beyond the user. The designer is part of humanity, right? And that you need to recognize that there are some things that people already know and that they already recognize their needs, and that your design is going to have larger repercussions and it can't be based on your own bias, right? So these were largely the concepts of designing with empathy, where you are putting yourselves in the shoes of the people that you're designing for, not just the people who are going to be using the product, but also everybody else who is involved as part of the creation of that product, right? So Don Norman lists out 5 principles of humanity-centered design. The first principle, he says, is that we need to focus on the entire ecosystem of people, all living things and the physical environment, right? So you can't just look at your particular user group. You need to look at what is the ecosystem that user group is part of, right? And what is the physical environment within which your particular product is going to be operating. Solve the root issues, not just the problem as presented, right? So many times when a problem is presented, it is the symptom that is present. Saying that, oh, there's a lot of pollution, right? A lot of pollution is a symptom. Where is that pollution coming from is the problem, right? So we need to start getting into the root of the problem and not just looking at symptomatic reactions, right? The third one is to take a long-term systems point of view, is to step back and say, I'm not going to immediately react to this particular symptom. I'm going to analyze the root cause of that symptom and look at a more long-term solutions, right? So we must realize that the impact of our actions on society and the ecosystem can take years to appear or manifest, even decades later. It is to recognize what are the long-term repercussions of our actions. Fourth is to continually test and refine the proposed designs to ensure that they truly meet the concerns of the people and the ecosystem for whom they're intended, right? So an iterative process. Like you said, you have to constantly repeat and evolve the design over a period of time. And the fifth principle that he says is design with the community and not for them, right? So the minute you're saying you're designing for somebody, you assume yourself to be at a higher at a higher pedestal than the people that you're designing for, and you start feeling that you are the one that is kind of saving their lives in that sense. And that is not the philosophy or the approach of designing with empathy, because we as designers, you consider yourself as equal to the people that you are designing for, and hence you design with people and not for people, right? So largely these are the 5 concepts of humanity-centered design that Don Norman proposed. And I think these 5 concepts are something that you can constantly think of in any kind of startup idea that you have. I saw that in your previous previous session, you all said that most of you were in the ideation stage. So I think that's the best place where you can start thinking of all of these 5 principles. Right. So we need to now start understanding what do we mean by context of use. Right? We keep using the word context and we use it very loosely. But understanding the context of use is at the core of designing with empathy. Yeah. So what do we mean by context? Let us kind of start probing a little bit more. Before I go ahead, I just want to stop and ask, do any of you have any questions until now?
Participants, you can ask your question using chat box, or you can raise your hand using option.
Were there any questions, Robin?
No questions, ma'am.
No questions. Okay, no problem. All right. Okay, so we are going to get into the next part of the session now. I think this is something that will energize you a little bit more. Okay, so let us start looking at the Indian context. Okay, that we are all familiar with, the Indian context. So designed for, by, with, and in the Indian context. And let us try and kind of untangle what we mean by the Indian context. Yeah. Okay, now very quickly, can you name a few quick things that come to your mind when you think of India? When I say India, what all comes to your mind? It could be a word, it could be a phrase, it could be anything.
Population.
Okay. It could be anything. Huh? There's no right and wrong answer in this. This is what comes to your mind.
Golden bird.
Sorry?
Golden bird.
Golden bird. Okay. Look
Constitution.
around you. Sorry?
Constitution.
Constitution.
Culture. Cultural diversity. Tiger.
Okay.
Democracy.
Okay.
Traditions.
Okay.
Unity in diversity. Youngsters. Economy. Trade hub. IT services. Country. Culture again.
Okay. So now I want you to pause a little bit and I want you to start reflecting on the world around you, right? So when can you disintegrate, like kind of dissect this idea a little bit more? When you say India, what more comes to your mind? It could be something that you're frustrated with also, right? So we are not here to promote somebody else's narrative, right? We are saying individually what comes to your mind when I say the word India. Can you
Large middle class market and emerging economy.
Okay.
Gen Z population. Neutral country. Discrimination. Flag. Corruption. Flag. Diversity. Judgment.
Okay. Great. So I think we're there, right? So some things, of course, you can keep going on and
Inequality
on.
education system. Inequality education system abuse.
Yes. Yes. All of it, right?
Developing country.
So some of these words are coming from certain dominant narratives. Some of these words are coming from your own experiences, right? It's just that you should be able to recognize where these ideas are coming from, right? So if I kind of just summarize and put it together, we're talking about diversity, ambitious economic growth, young population, noise, loudness, talkativeness, lack of resources, rich and explicit cultural practices, connection to family, crowd, corruption, negotiation, blurred boundaries of inside and outside, visible inequalities. So there are several blacks and whites and grays to the Indian context, right? And we can keep going on and on about it. But as a designer, you should not hesitate to critically look at your context, right? And also look at your own biases. What is making you describe a particular context in a particular way is something you need to be aware of, right? And today's time. So what is today's time governed by? Mass production, standardization, ease of availability, digital access. There's a craving desire for aesthetics. There's a need for change, need for creative expression. And then there is lesser and lesser emphasis on permanence. This whole idea of permanence and durability that has changed from the, let's say, the 60s, 70s, and then now the
I think our video is freezing.
Yeah,
many more
now it's coming.
parameters.
We lost you for a few seconds, Ramya.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So I'll just take you through this slide again or the previous one.
You can just the last few sentences. probably
Few
you can-
sentences you can
Okay.
you
So
can
yeah. So it was
Yeah.
just this, that what is today's time governed by? So today's time is governed by mass production, standardization, ease of availability, digital access. There's a craving desire for aesthetics. There's a need for change, need for creative expression, and there is less emphasis on permanence, right? So on the left, you can see this image where, so it's written in Hindi. So roti, kapda or makan. So these were the three words that kind of governed the, 1980s Bollywood. So roti is food, kapda is clothes, and a house. People said this is all we need. We just need food, we need clothes, and we need a house. These are the basic necessities. And in today's time, what do you need over and beyond all this? You need the internet, right? So roti, kapda, makan, or internet. That is at the core of what we are looking at in today's time in terms of the needs of today's time. Right. So there's things are changing around us, and we need to be aware of what is happening. So you can summarize this by saying that Indian culture is influenced by class, caste, religion, region, gender, language, occupation, and many, many more. And how does it manifest itself? It manifests itself in practices of food, both cooking and eating, practices of storage, how people store, how people rest, how people pray, how they interact socially, what is their sense of privacy, what is their sense of hygiene, what is their sense of mobility. So when you're thinking of a product, and if you're thinking of any of these sectors within which your product belongs, you need to start thinking of all other interconnected indicators as well, right? How do financial exchanges happen? What is their source of livelihood? Right? So these are all the indicators of culture. But when we say context, we are not only talking about culture. We are in fact talking about the interconnectedness between three aspects. One is people, which is the society and culture, which we just analyzed for the Indian context. Second is place, that is landscape, buildings, objects, visuals, the physical environment within which the people are situated. And third is processes. What are the available technologies and how are products used? Right? How are things done? So context is essentially the connection or the intersection of an understanding of people, places, and processes. So whenever you're looking at any product idea, you need to start thinking of all these three, right? And if you want to summarize, we can say that context essentially consists of the conditions and circumstances within which an activity or an event takes place. The event can be anything. The usage of your product can be an event. The manufacturing of your product can be an event, right? The accessibility or the sale of your product can be an event. So what are the conditions and circumstances within which all of this takes place? It's for you to think about and analyze. So basically what we are saying is we kind of get out of a very narrow view of just looking at your product in isolation and start looking at all the interconnected systems around. Right? So there's a very famous anthropologist called Clifford Geertz. And what he said was that where something happens is the first step towards understanding what happens there and why. So where, what, and why? You need to try and answer all these three questions related to the product idea that you have. Right? So if we dissect this even further, we are talking about, when we say people, what are we talking about? We're talking about people's needs, their beliefs, their social structure, their cultural practices, and many more. When we are talking about places, we are saying physical environment and spatial pattern. What do we mean when we say spatial pattern? What does this word ring a bell in any way to any of you? Any ideas on what we mean by the word spatial pattern? It's a very technical kind of a word, so just want to get that across. Any thoughts? Any thoughts on what we mean by spatial pattern? Robin?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Any answers? Are
No
there any?
answer.
No.
One second. Neighborhoods
Okay. Yes.
and independence movements.
Sure. So when we say spatial pattern, we are talking about.
Event across areas.
So we are talking about how objects, people, buildings, etc. are organized in a particular landscape. So we are talking about the relationship between geography and the activities that happen within a particular region. Yeah. And when we say processes, we are talking about material, we are talking about technology, what kind of technology is available, what kind of economy is there for this kind of a product, and what kind of labor does it demand, right? And do we have that kind of labor? Yeah, so you need to be sensitive to the intersection between all three when you're thinking of a product. Yeah. So I'm just going to now go through a series of photographs and I'm going to throw a bunch of questions. Okay, so I'm very happy that you all have been responding on the chat box. I'm a bit handicapped with respect to Slido, so I'm very happy that you're responding on the chat box. So first question, what is this? What are these photos of?
Toilets.
Toilets?
Yeah.
Can you be more
Yes.
specific? More specific? We remember this triangle, okay?
Common toilet.
Common toilets? Are you sure these are common toilets?
Rural,
Look like common
rural public toilets and smart toilets.
Toilets.
Indian toilet.
Okay.
Many
Rural.
answers.
Toilet in a
So-
village.
One person has said rural development. Temporary
Okay.
toilet.
Okay. So rural development. So now you've started recognizing context. So I want you, when I ask you what is this, you will have to tell me something about the context of what it is, right? So rural, I like that you said that. Rural development, yes. Are these public toilets?
One
answer is poor accessibility of basic needs in rural areas.
What?
The
Okay.
other one is fertilizer toilet.
Okay. So alternative. So can I just go back to this triangle and say what you've all been talking about? When you're saying that poor accessibility of resources, you're talking about people. right? You're talking about your idea of people, that the assumption that they don't have access. Second, when you're saying rural development, then you're talking about the development of a particular kind of physical environment, right? And a particular kind of governance structure which is there in rural areas, right? And which was the third one? Sorry, there was one more answer that I wanted to.
Rural development,
Okay. And
fertilizer
then,
toilet,
sorry,
Normal toilet, one person answered normal toilet versus developed toilet.
normal toilet versus developed toilet. Can we just unmute that person, and can he or she just
Yeah,
explain to me
Perarasu.
what they think?
Perarasu.
can you
One
raise your
second.
hand?
Can you raise your hand? I'm not singling you out, okay? I think what you said was very interesting. That's why I
Perarasu,
just
you
want
can
to
unmute
understand.
and tell your answer. Perarasu, I have unmuted.
Don't
Perarasu,
feel shy.
you can unmute and
That's why you wanted to put your college name also. You don't
yeah,
have to feel shy. Please come forward and
yeah.
talk.
Yeah, because the more you talk, the more I'm able to, take back from this session, right? So
Neat
I'm
and
also learning
organized
from
I
manner.
you.
request participants, you raise your hands so that it is easy to unmute you.
Yeah. So can you raise your hands? What do you think of this toilet? You said one of them is a normal toilet, one of them is an Indian toilet. Is that what you said?
Normal, one second.
Normal versus
Normal
developed.
toilet versus developed toilet.
Versus a developed toilet, right? So what would you mean by that? Okay, anybody else wants to unmute and answer, please raise your hands. I want you to participate more in this session. Yes,
Yeah, somebody
Yeah,
raised.
Jiteshwaran.
Jitishwaran, one second. Yeah,
Jiteshwaran.
Jitishwaran from REC, you can unmute. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, I guess like many of them using rural toilets, right? Right image, many of them are using left image, like single person using with clean area, or
Okay.
we can say it as clean area or non-clean area like that.
Okay. So you're describing the physical environment of the content of the toilet, and
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
talking about how many people are using it, right? Why
Yes, ma'am.
why do you feel like in the right image more people are using it?
Like I can see images from village, I guess.
Right.
Left image, it is clean. Outer, I can see outer area is clean, but inner I can't see, right?
Okay. So it's
So
probably
outer,
because of how the photograph is taken. You feel like in the right image it was more usable, and in the left image it's not so usable as a
yes,
toilet.
yes.
Okay. Any thoughts on accessibility or the location of the toilet?
Uh, I can see accessibility like water supply,
Right. Okay. Now you're talking. What else?
and then cleanliness.
So in the right side, it feels like it is more maintained. You can see that there is also water supply. In the left
Yes.
side, you only see a box, right? You don't see any
Yes,
people
ma'am.
around.
No,
Yeah.
ma'am.
And it seems to be, it's not connected to the main street. It seems to be less accessible. We don't know, but that's how the picture is, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So if we go back and see, when we talk about people, places, and processes, can you look at what all opportunities this toilet allows for, and in what ways do you think this toilet has failed?
Uh, Opportunity in this in means having an facility of light facilities, and then roadside we can see in left image the toilet area was clean, but outer is not clean, right?
Right.
So in the right image, a person was there, but inside it is not clean, but outside it is clean, having a roads and then walkable area.
Right. So, what are the good things that the toilet has done?
uh, Good thing in the sense, right side image has roads,
Hmm.
hasn't water, but in left image we don't have any roads.
Right.
It is so soil, or we can say it is soily,
Right.
and no water.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Can we have another person?
Yeah,
Swati.
1 second. Chandru, he is asking.
Swati has also raised her
Yeah,
hand.
yeah, 1 second.
So,
Swati.
I just want to
Yeah,
reiterate my
Swati.
question.
Swati can unmute.
Yes, Swati, can you unmute and tell
Hello,
us
ma'am.
what are the things that this toilet has solved and where are the areas where this toilet can fail?
In left side image, no, there is no people in there. I think this is in the abandoned area like that.
Okay. So you don't see any people on the left, and there is a kind of an abandoned kind of an area, right? So there could be a way, the problem could be with its location, where it is located, right? So these images show a certain, what do you say, a certain characteristic of these toilets, but they are images that have been photographed at a particular time, right? It could also be that nobody was using this toilet and at that particular time the image was taken. But what I want to bring to your attention is this: if you think of this toilet as a product, right? Can we go back and see who are the people it caters to? Right? What are their needs, beliefs, social structure? What are the processes that it demands? And what are the ways in which it will function best in what kind of a physical environment? Right? So, from all these three places, what could fail the toilet? Can you tell me, for example, the toilet is not used, right? Let's say that is a symptom. I see that a toilet has gotten built, but it is not used. It is used as a storeroom, right? This is what is very common in a lot of villages, right? So can we go back and think from these three perspectives, what has caused the toilet to not be used? What
So
could be the issue from the perspective of people, from the perspective of processes, and from the perspective of the place where it is located?
So one answer has come. The left washrooms built looks weak. Approach is not hygienic. And the right washroom seems to be built using concrete and bricks and has water supply unlike the left side.
Right. So you spoke of the approach, which is talking about the places where it is located, right? You spoke of processes, the construction technology, and you spoke of the water supply, right? Associated systems. Great. We had another person raise their hand?
Yeah, we know them. I think he's not
Navyantra.
Navyantra. 1 second. Navyantra. Yeah. Navyantra, you can unmute now.
Yeah, good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Yeah, as all said, as a accessibility of these two toilets, so you can see in left side a well is there. I think it's a well.
Okay.
Like the some older people cannot be accessed like that, so they prefer always in right side as water is there,
Okay.
and sometimes it may be in distance. Maybe the both. Washrooms in same village, but it's under a village middle. But the left side bathroom is distance from the village. They cannot access easily.
Sure. So I think I just want to stop you there to point out what you're addressing, right? You're again addressing places. Is the
Yeah.
toilet centrally located where there is already existing infrastructure, or is it located in the periphery of a particular place where there is no existing infrastructure that it can connect itself to, right? So you're talking
Yeah.
about how places can fail the toilet, just its sheer location, how certain processes can fail the toilet if it is not built through good technology, or it is very well built but there's no water supply. So then you can't use the toilet without water supply, even if it is very well built, right?
Yeah.
Great. Prem Kumar?
Thank you.
Yeah, Prem Kumar, you can unmute and ask. And Prem Kumar? Prem Kumar, you can unmute. Okay, so he's not able to unmute. Anyway, Swati, you can ask. Swati
Ma'am,
K. Yeah.
Yes.
ma'am, I think in the left side, restroom is in the wrong place, ma'am.
Okay.
It's my statement.
Okay. Why do you think it's in the wrong location? What is wrong with the location according to you? Swati, you can unmute.
Yeah, Swati.
Ma'am, because there is no people around the area, so I think.
So what does it do if there are no people around the area? What does it do to that place? What does it make that place?
We have to change the area, so we have to develop the houses around them.
Why should there be people around that area? What does it do when there are people around the area?
Um, I can't.
Do you think it makes it safer if there are people around the area? That as a woman who wants to use the toilet at night, you feel safer if there are people around in that area and it's not located in such an abandoned, lonely area?
No, it's not safe. I think it's in the wrong place. I think there is
Okay,
no people around them.
right. So
If
that's
we
what
have to
I'm trying
create
to.
to use this, we have to create a civilization around the areas we have to build. If that possible means we have to use, and the people around there, it may consider safe, but that's a big process.
Yeah, sure. It's a big process. That's fine, right? But
Mm.
I'm just trying to probe and see, why do you think there should be people around this area, right? And this is where you start getting into the user profiles. That for men, it may not be a concern that comes into their mind at all, that there are no people here. It really doesn't matter, right? But for a woman, the first thing I look at it and I say, oh, there are no people around this area. I don't see a single light bulb around this area. It feels a bit unsafe to me. So I'm not going to access it, right? Whereas on the right, I see a child accessing it. The toilet is located right next to a road where there are many people sitting, right? I feel like this toilet is safer for me to access. So again, you remember we were talking about usability and accessibility. So the toilets may be usable for everybody, but it may be more accessible for men than women, right? So
Yes.
that is the point that I'm trying to bring out. That you really need to ask yourself, why are you feeling that way? And then say, oh, that is the root cause of that kind of a feeling, right? So I think we addressed the failure of the toilet usage from a places and processes perspective, and now from a people perspective, right? From the perspective of gender. Yeah. Another story, like a small story I want to share with respect to the toilet, is that I was doing research on water and sanitation in a particular area. So this was in a slum. So all these toilets basically have been built under the Swachh Bharat mission, where there is a particular target of the number of toilets that need to be built. And the purpose of the mission is to completely eradicate open defecation, right? So what was happening is that toilets were being built at a very fast pace everywhere. But the thing with the toilet is that it is a small building, but it requires lot of existing systems, connected systems of water supply and of drainage. So sanitary systems, right? Without these, the toilet is not functioning. So in one of the slums in which a toilet was built, so we looked at the construction. The construction was very good. The place was clean. There was water supply and there was sanitation system. And still the toilet was not being used. And not just in one house, but on an entire street. The toilets of an entire street, nobody was using the toilets, and it was used as a storeroom, and still people were going out to defecate. So when we probed further and tried to find out what was the reason, what they said is that the main drainage line that all the toilets are connecting into, that goes under or near their community temple, right? So they said that we don't want to, pollute the temple. It's a very place of sanctity for us. So we don't want to pollute the temple by using the toilet. So even though the toilet is located far away from the temple, the drainage pipe was going very close to the temple, right? So if we didn't recognize where all the interconnected systems were going and what was the importance of that temple for the people who were living there, then it is a perfect solution, right? A pipe is in place, water supply is in place, construction is in place, all targets are met, right? And we're saying, okay, so we are a secular country, so we are not very concerned about religious beliefs. And then what happens in the end is that because we didn't kind of acknowledge what was important for the people of the area who were going to use those toilets, right? So that negotiation had to be made in terms of the sanitary pipe, and that was unimaginable for the engineer who was doing it, because as far as he's concerned, it's just a matter of connecting all the systems, right? So just wanted to kind of highlight that. Going to the next image. What do you see here? Can you raise your hand? What do you see? And do you see something common in all these three images?
Hitesh.
Yes, Jitishwaran.
Ma'am, in a area, I guess left side image is an ATM bank where we can sit there, but people they didn't allow to sit there, so that they have given some like grid-like structures at the
That's right.
left
Okay.
side, right side, top image same as it is. They kept stones should not sit near the tree.
Okay.
But the below image they can allow to sit. It is like bus stand.
But you're not allowed to. What can you do? You can sit here, but you can't.
Wait, always sleep.
You can't sleep, right?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
what do those divisions do? That you can sit there, but you can't sleep,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So
Ah,
what is this kind of notion that is getting propagated here?
Differentiation.
Differentiation amongst who and who?
Differentiation between and proper area and then main area.
Proper area and a
Proper area and main area, ma'am. Main area in the sense like bus stands. Proper area in the sense banks, shops, like that.
right. Okay. So the one is that differentiation of what is that area, but what is the common thing that is who do you think gets affected by all these three solutions? Who are the people do you think will get affected by this?
One answer is
roadside people.
That's right. Right? Any other answers?
the homeless and the travelers, the beggars and homeless.
Right. So what does it do? What do you think should be done? And why do you think people have done this?
Not sleep there and then sit there, sit at the main area, because it is an ATM bank, as well as right side is an street. Street side, some people will sleep, right? Beggars, as well as homeless people, they will sleep there, right? So to not allow them, they are giving like this structures.
Yes, that's correct, right? That we all agree with that. Why do you think this is the solution for homelessness?
I guess no, ma'am.
Okay. I'll just hold it at that. Anybody else wants to answer? What was the problem that was identified, and what is the solution, and what is the kind of consequence that the solution is having? Is this a good solution? Can I just get a response on that? Is this a good solution for homelessness? Or can I get your personal opinion? Do you think this is good? Do you think this is humanity-centered design? Yes, Roshan?
1 second. Yeah, Roshan. You can unmute. Roshan.
Roshan, you raised your hand.
Okay, one more answer has come from the chat box. The consequence might be that the homeless would not have a place to sleep at the stands. I don't think it's a solution for the homeless, as they are just being relocated.
Right. So what can we call this? We can just call this a symptomatic solution, right? You're saying, oh, homeless people are sleeping on the bus stand. Let's just put these barricades so that nobody can sleep there, right? Let us put the stones, or let us put these grills so that nobody can sleep there, right?
One
But
more
what are,
answer in the right down image, the street dog also injured by that construction.
which one?
Right side image.
In the right side image, yes.
Yeah.
Right. So is this an empathetic design? Do you think it is an empathetic design?
No is the answer, Ankita.
Okay. Why do you think it's not empathetic? It solves the problem, no? Why do you think it's not an empathetic design?
You can raise your hand also.
Yes.
Any answer? Someone has answered. Rohit has answered yes.
Yes. Okay. But why do you think so? Who does it benefit? Who does it cater to? Who does it benefit? And who does it
Okay.
not benefit?
It's not empathetic solution. It is a good solution if proper shelter provided for the homeless by the concerned people. And one more answer from Ankita, but not applicable for all. No, human can see what is, but animal can't see what that, and they get injured.
Right. So we are thinking of solving a particular problem which we think is a problem, right? It could also be just our perception, right? So we see a homeless person and we say, oh, They should not be in our vocabulary.
One more answer from Kalidas. It is also problem for old age people because doesn't allow them to rest when they can't able to walk.
Yes. Right? So you've seen that this solution is not empathetic to homeless. It is not empathetic to the animals. It is not empathetic to the elderly. Right? So it is not an empathetic solution for a series of vulnerable populations. Right? People who are not in power in a certain sense or don't have a say. It is not empathetic to people who don't have a say. Right? And as a designer, we should be very aware of this, that what are the existing power dynamics, who has a say in taking decisions, who do these decisions benefit, and who are these decisions affecting in a negative way, right? So user-centric design is also about giving voice to the vulnerable stakeholders, right? It is to create a platform where everybody can voice their decisions equally. What do you see here? What do you see here? Can you raise your hand?
Barriers, not disabled friendly. Swati again raised the hand. I will unmute. Swati? Yeah,
Ma'am,
go ahead. Yes, go
ma'am.
ahead, Swati.
Yes.
It's a best solution for all are not a walk. I think it's an empathical solution.
Which one?
This bus no left side
In the
bottom.
bus, right?
Mm.
Right. And what
Also
about
in
the
train.
others?
Also in train, it's an empathic solution. But in the left top corner, there is no way to go for them.
Right. So something like a footpath, something like one step in the footpath, which we take for granted, is not accessible to somebody on a wheelchair. Right? Similarly, on the right side, this is a woman's compartment. So it is, like an empathetic solution saying that, oh, women are being given a separate train. But we are not thinking of inaccessibility for the specially able, right? Why do you think there is always a very long queue outside a women's toilet and not outside a men's toilet? What do you think? There's something wrong with the design of the women's toilet that creates that very long queue? Or women are the problem? Any thoughts? And what do you think could be the solution for this? Isn't this like a daily thing that all of us experience?
Yeah, Swati again raised. Swati? Okay.
Anybody else wants to answer?
Yeah. Who is that? Yeah,
In
Swati.
men's toilet, there is no handicap toilet. There
Where?
is
In the
no
men toilet.
straightly for handicap.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that is not there in the men's toilet. But why is there such a long queue outside a women's toilet always, wherever you travel, no? Why is that the case? And what do you think can be done to solve that? Any thoughts? Okay, so I'll leave you with this in your mind, okay? Think about it. So this is a symptom, right? Symptom is that there is always a long line outside a women's toilet and not outside a men's toilet. And this is something, this is global, this is across the world. Where do you think is the root cause? We'll have to think about what we think of gender, how we treat the different toilets differently. Do we understand user needs enough? Right?
Ma'am, but in men's toilet there is no line on there. Only in women's toilet only they have a line.
That's what I'm saying. So that is the symptom, right? That is the issue that we want to solve. We want public toilets to be made more easily accessible to women in a way that they also get cleared fast. Right? So do we understand biology enough? Do we understand gender requirements and perceptions enough? Right? So all these are questions for us to think why this is happening. Yeah, so I'll go ahead now. Anybody knows what this is? I also have a demonstration below, GIF demonstration. Anybody knows what this is?
No, they may not have seen this.
Have you seen something like this? Or can you guess
Yeah.
what it is?
It is
Coffee
actually a
make-
coffee percolator. It is not a coffee maker.
Hmm.
It's like a coffee percolator.
Someone has answered coffee maker.
Coffee maker. Okay, a coffee percolator, right? Have you seen this on the side? This one? Do you recognize this?
Yes, ma'am.
If you're from
Somebody
South
has-
India, don't you have this in your home? Yes,
Jashwant,
Jaswant?
Jashwant, 1 second.
Yeah. We have, what is it called? Saranya and Ankita says they have it. Filter
You have
coffee
it?
maker. Good.
Jashwant,
Okay.
Right? So the one on the left is an Italian coffee percolator. And the one on the right is also a coffee percolator, very common in South Indian homes. Right? Now, both of these are doing exactly the same job. Yeah. Now, in terms of people, places, and processes, why do you think they are made different? They're doing exactly the same job. They're creating coffee decoction. Any thoughts? Any guesses? It's okay that you haven't seen this before. Now we've told you what it is. Any guesses? One is in Italy and one is in South India. Think of the users, think of the consumption, think of the type of consumption, think of the processes involved in making these products. Any thoughts? Any answers, Robin?
Based on resources available.
Based on
One
the
answer.
available resources, right?
Time taken is less compared than the second one.
second one.
So in the second one, time taken is more.
More. That's what they're saying.
Okay. That's correct. That's the difference between the two. Why is the mocha pot not so famous in India? And why is this? I don't know if this percolator is famous in Italy or not. But if something is giving me a coffee decoction so fast, why is it not so famous in South India? Why don't South Indian homes have this mocha pot? Any thoughts? Any guesses? You can just guess, huh? So we are looking at
Cost.
cost, okay.
Because tea is more consumed in South India. That's one answer.
Okay.
Culture. Because of instant coffee powder.
Because
Instant
of
coffee powder is not that popular in India. It came very late, actually.
Right. Prem? Prem Kumar.
Yeah, Prem.
Any guesses? There's no right answer. We're just all speculating together. Any guesses, Bharni sir?
Why? What is the question you asked? Why it is
I said,
different?
why is this mocha pot not so famous in South Indian homes as this, as the percolator on the right side?
Yeah, see, I guess the mocha pot, the filter is made out of the vapor, not directly by the water. Water is boiled to a maximum capacity, and then the vapor takes the powder, makes it as a decoction. Whereas the other, there is a direct interaction between the hot water and the filter powder. Probably that gives a better flavor. That's my guess. So they would like to have a. I mean, that's why it has been designed that way in South India.
Mhm.
But the first one, the left side one, I think that it is more convenient to handle it. The second one, it's very difficult to handle because the whole thing becomes very hard. And pouring the decoction once it is ready is quite complex. You have to have a lot of precautions on that. Definitely, from that point of view, the Italian model is better. But from a taste point of view, I think the South Indians prefer because of the direct interaction between the coffee powder and the water. That's my
Okay.
guess.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're all guessing, but one could be the taste. So it's coming from culture, right?
Yep.
It's a more cultural preference. Mohan, you've raised your hand. Can you unmute?
Who? That blast Mohan.
Yes,
Mohan,
Mohan.
Mohan.
Mohan, you can unmute. I request you change your name with your college name for easy identification.
Yeah, there is a Mohan, Blast Mohan. You can unmute him.
Yeah, he is not able to. I have done.
Oh,
Okay, so
Mohan, you can.
can you put your answer in the chat box if you're not able to unmute? Did we get his answer in the chat box?
not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Okay, so I can point out one big difference. One is in the way it is processed or it is made, right? So on the left, it is you need industrial level infrastructure to make the mocha pot. Yeah. Whereas on the right, the brass percolator that is made, it is made by hand. So you can have cottage industries where there are people who are making these pots, right? So you see this, you see these dots here. It is all by this whole process of hammering that coppersmiths use to make these pots. So one is the simplicity with which it is made. The manufacturing is much simpler with the percolator. So that could be one difference. Yeah. Second is the need for boiling pot. I mean the need for fuel, need for gas. Yeah. So there could be several such reasons. But from a process perspective, one is more industrial, one is more from a that can be made through cottage industries.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you
Productions?
from a
You mean?
production perspective? Yes.
Yeah.
So it is more conducive to an Indian context. The production is much easier in the Indian context because we have very big cottage industries.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Any you've seen this on all products. What is this?
Can I add one more point actually for the previous example? See,
Yes.
the metal that we use for the coffee filter, that is actually antiseptic. It is considered to remove all the infections.
Okay.
I mean, so I mean, we don't believe in steel and other materials for a long time. we don't use that at all. We rely more on the traditional materials. I mean, even if for drinking water, we don't use the steel. I think it came very late. That could be another reason, possibly.
Definitely. So we have very deeply ingrained traditions,
Yep.
and which cannot suddenly be broken through even any kind of what do you say, scientific perspective or whatever it is. So any
Right.
different kind of perspective, I'll just say that.
Yes.
Right. So
Yep.
if you're just saying that, oh, I have this study that says that this is better, do it, it's not going to happen, because you
Yeah.
need to understand where people's beliefs are coming from. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. What is this? Very quickly, can you unmute and tell me what this is? It's very straightforward.
Hey, this is quite popular, yeah.
Indication for
Food
people who
classification,
prefer
yeah.
not to eat non-veg. Food classification.
Food classification.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Now, this is the new symbol for non-veg. Why do you think so?
Yeah. I can answer this because I am a direct beneficiary of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Barney sir anyway knows the answer. So before that, can we
Variation of foods. Ashwin Muttaya.
No.
Variation of foods.
variation of foods? Okay.
Color
Yeah.
blindness.
Somebody got it. Yeah. Color
Color
blindness.
blindness, right? So
Yep.
the assumption in the first case was that everybody can tell the difference between colors, which is not the case, right?
Correct.
So the new logo is empathetic towards people who can't tell the difference between colors.
Yep.
Right? Okay, so I'm just going to summarize now that if we are talking about non-empathetic designs, one is that they assume rather than understand. So they don't recognize the designer's biases, where they're coming from. And it is the designer that decides what is good for the user, right? They exclude rather than include. So they say that, oh, this is what I want to do. And well, if many people can't use it, it's not my concern, right? It serves efficiency and control or aesthetics over humanity, right? It probably make a place more beautiful looking, right? When you have those thorns, but it is not very human in a sense, right? So in a sense, control over inclusion, efficiency over dignity, standardization over diversity. Yeah. So there are many critiques also for user-centric design. One, that it takes a very long time for any kind of production, right? Two, that it lowers the rate of economic development because it takes that long, right? Three, that you can't satisfy everybody, so you have to be ready to not satisfy a certain group of people, right? But there are many people who say that all the effort and all the time spent on user-centric design is eventually worthwhile for the benefit of humanity going forward, right? So there are these theories for and against this as well. And what are we saying empathetic design? What does it start with? It starts with listening, first of all. Starts with observing, and it starts with imagining the world through others' experiences. That is what we mean when we say empathetic design, right? So just want to end with these three large questions, right? What do you see in this picture? What do you all see in this picture? Can you just raise your hand and answer? Or put it in the chat box.
Ayuda
Puja.
Puja.
Puja. Somebody is doing puja.
Okay. You think people at Dell think about this when they're manufacturing the laptops or computers? Is it conducive to our Ayuth Puja?
You know, Carl Zeiss, who makes the best lens in the world, they got a very unique situation. The lens that were shipped to India were damaged so soon. They figured out that that's because at the start of the movie, people are showing the what do you call the arti to the camera, taking the lens out. Lens cover out. They take the lens cover out and then they show the arti to the camera before the start of the movie. So they couldn't figure out why the lens were getting damaged so quickly in India, whereas it works for several years outside India. Then they figured out after a long time that this was the reason.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, that's what I just want to open out a discussion through this picture, right? That there is a certain product, there is a certain direction in which we are moving. There are also traditions, there are also beliefs. So, how can
Yes.
design begin recognizing all these nuances that govern humanity? Right? So, what is this picture? Okay, I'll probably talk about it. So, this picture has two types of furniture, right? So there's one here, which is more minimalist, modern looking. Same here with this table. And then there is this furniture, which this is called a khatia or a khatla, which is very commonly seen in North Indian villages where you have people sleeping outside, right? And it's a very light cot that you can carry to any place. And so because there's no concept of bedroom, right? You sleep wherever the cot is and you take the cot wherever you want to sleep. So in this picture, what they've done is they've tried to put together two products that come from two different times, two different ideologies, two different geographies. So we are currently in a state where you cannot negate what has happened until now. You can't negate our histories, you can't negate our beliefs. At the same time, you are trying to bring in some amount of newness in your design, right? Remember the first definition of design that we had, people said it had to be unique. You all said it had to be unique. It had to be new, right? It had to be attractive. Yeah. And in this day and age of information, say, right, we move beyond the industrial age, we are in the age of information. And everything is the World Wide Web, right? So you're looking at something on Instagram, sitting in, let's say, a village that is 300 kilometers from a big city in India. And you know what is happening in Italy, you know what is happening in other places. So this kind of information exchange, in this information age, you cannot assume that people don't have an aspiration for a certain kind of aesthetic or that people don't know. So the biggest problem with designers is that they assume that they know it all and that people don't know enough, not even about their own needs, right? So how can your design is essentially positioned between this, between what has happened until now, between existing processes, existing craftsmanship of a particular product, existing traditions, beliefs, and then a certain aspiration that is propagated through the information age. Right? So to what extent can we meaningfully reproduce culture in our design? It will start to be meaningful when you can address people's aspiration. Right? Now, will design continue to be sasta, sada, or tikau? So sasta, sada, or tikau are three Hindi words. Sasta means cost effective. Sada means simple looking. Tikau means durable. Right? And this was promoted as the Indian design philosophy. And this is what was typically promoted in the late 90s as the basis for anything that will work in the Indian context, that it has to be cost effective, simple looking, and durable. Now, if we are looking at the future society, at least in India, are we still looking at these three parameters? Are there more parameters that have started coming in? Or has the importance of these three parameters changed? Right? We should start questioning that when we are looking at our products. Right? So on the left, just for your information, on the left is an ad of the Parle-G biscuit. It was called Parle Gluco biscuit, right? From, I don't know, really 1960s or 50s, something like that. Right?
Even
And on
80s we
the
had.
80s, this is 80s?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, this is something like that. Yeah.
From the 80s, okay. And
Yeah,
on the
then I
right,
think they changed the name to Parle-G after that.
after that, okay, okay. And on the right, does anybody know which scooter this is?
This is famous Bajaj.
Bajaj Chetak, right? It is
Yeah,
like
Chetak, yeah.
the iconic product of that represents India in a sense, or the Indian middle class. Yeah. So, I mean, this is what India was in the late 1900s. So, is this where we are still? Is this where we are going? Where are we going ahead? Is for us to think, because if you are ideating on a product, you are thinking of who are the masses that you're catering to, and where have they moved ahead in their lives, right, and in their aspirations. So yes, that was it from my side. Do we have any more time, or would you like me to wrap up?
We will wrap up with questions. Do you want to go through the slide or now?
No, I think I've
Got
I
your
had
answers.
already
Okay.
asked those questions in the
Okay,
beginning of
got
the yeah.
Okay. So any questions, please feel free to ask. See, this is extremely important session because in our Innova, whoever is participating in Innova competition, you are expected to know this, and you are going to be evaluated how empathetic is your design. And without empathy, you are not going to get through. So please take this. Those who have missed it, please ask them to see the recording.
So if you have any questions with regards to where you are in your specific project that you want to ask right now, you can do that. Like if you are finding it a challenge to, address this aspect of empathy in your project right now, we can address that because it will be for the benefit of everybody else also who's participating here. If not, you can also get in touch with me at a later stage if you'd like to discuss your ideas with me at a later stage. I'll be happy to do that. Can I ask for any thoughts, if not questions, if you don't have immediate questions, any thoughts that you have about this whole idea of designing with empathy, thinking of your own projects right now? Do you think it's a possible approach or a possible direction for us? What do you think
Yeah,
are
one or
the
two.
limitations of this?
Yeah, one or two can answer that. We have to wind up by 3:30.
Yes.
Anybody has got any thoughts?
Any thoughts, any questions on this idea are welcome.
What Pals expect from an Innova participant? Like the idea needs to have a better solution from existing, or it needs to be completely different aspect. Okay, this is not the question for this forum. We have answered it. See, okay, for the benefit of that person, I'll answer Rohit. Your idea can be new or improvement over an existing solution. Both are fine as long as there is a value addition from your side. You just cannot copy somebody's idea. That's the whole thing. Don't repeat anything in the market already. Ma'am, our project is a smart drainage monitoring system. Our thought is how we handle wastage without human intervention. That's a good thought.
Great. But at
Ma'am,
some point,
yeah.
in somewhere, there will be a human being pressing a button, right?
Yeah.
So you will have to think of that.
Yeah. If we fail to connect with client empathy, then we want to do what? If you fail to connect with empathy, then it will be operation success, but patient died. So
Then,
you have to connect.
yes. So if you fail to connect, then you try and think why you failed. Is it that the method that you used, because of that you are not able to connect? Is it that you didn't have enough time to connect? Right? So you just have to reflect on why you failed to connect with the client. Is it that the client was not willing to talk to you? Right? So I think it's a matter of reflective practice where you start thinking why you are not able to do something, and then you change your ways. Essentially, design processes are very agile, right? So you can't be very hung up on a particular way of doing things. You have to be visible, sorry, you have to be open to changing your methods, changing your ways as and when you go along.
And never push your ideas on your client. See, that is something that the new generation try to do very often. Because you like some technology, because you like some idea, you should not force fit that. You should use only what is essential for the solution. Okay.
And I think that comes from a fear of change, right? That you are afraid of something that you are not familiar with, and so you don't want to do it, right? You want to go ahead, you want to stay in the comfort zone, and that's not how design works. So you have to keep constantly questioning and moving out of your own comfort zone, right? Our project is application based, and the application is more technical. What am I to do for empathetic, for uneducated people, right? So, all right. So it is a more technical solution, fair enough. When you say technical, you're saying that it requires some kind of technical knowledge, right? But if your end users are people who are not educated, so there are two ways, right? Uneducated is different and illiterate is different. Illiterate means that they don't know how to read and write, right? Uneducated is different because it means that they have not been through any kind of formal education system. Doesn't mean that they don't know things, right? So it would be important for you to find out how they currently navigate their life, right? So for example, I have this person who comes over to my place for helping around with the house whenever required. She doesn't know how to read and write. Okay. She can't read what is there on the mobile phone, but she's very good at talking. So what she does is that she stores people's numbers because she goes to several houses. So what she does is that she will, because of her social skills, she will ask me to ring the next person. She remembers the names. So by using that, she has a mobile phone that she doesn't know how to call. She doesn't know how to make a call, but she has very good social skills. So she might be uneducated, but because of her social skills, she's able to run a business, right? So you need to get into trying to find out how do they manage their lives if they are uneducated. Right now, what do they do? I think that will be helpful. It is an efficient process to follow all 5 steps of design thinking. Edit, format before deploying as a product. I don't know what this edit format is, but what I know is that design is not a sequential process, right? And it's not a recipe. All these are just models, just ideas to get you started, right? If you want to get into the design process, you should be open to change. That is the first thing. you should be open to iterative processes, meaning do the same thing again and again and again, fail, right? And going back to the user, going back to the field at any point in time, be ready to go back to the field without the fear that your product is going to fail, right? You should be open to failure of your idea, and you should not be in love with your ideas. I think that is at the core of the design process, right? How do we understand users' emotion when they may not express themselves clearly? Very, very, what do you say, appropriate question, right? So it's not going to happen fast. That's why it's a very slow process. That you need to build a relationship with your user, and building relationship takes time, right? And over time, and there are several methods that you can use to get them to express themselves, right? First thing is to think what kind of questions you're asking, right? Are your questions themselves empathetic, right? So for example, I have a studio that I conduct here where students go to the village and talk to people about how they celebrate festivals, etc., right? So there was this one girl who was asking this, one of my students was asking this lady, how do you celebrate Diwali? Do you decorate your whole house, and do you get your house painted and things like that? And the lady was not answering at all. And after some time, she just looked at me and she said, if you have money, you can do everything, right? So we were constantly asking a question because we want to know an answer so that we can use it in our product. But we weren't thinking, is this something that the lady is capable of or no? Does she have enough resources for this or no? What are her emotions when we are talking about decoration during Diwali? Right? So there are different ways to connect to people. Right?
Yeah. See, I want to add to that point. See, I think it was Dhanush from Sairam. I don't know if you attended the other day. See, imagine how does a pediatrician treat his patients? He is dealing with kids, right? How do the kids explain the problem? They cannot. But as a pediatrician, they still find out the problem, do it. You have to be so empathetic with your users. You really have to work with them, speak their language, sit
Yes.
with them. That is very important. Imagine that's the best example I can think of how to be more empathetic. So
And
you
that is,
definitely have to be empathetic, work with
and
them very, very closely.
yes, and that is the difference between empathy and sympathy, right? So you would look at somebody who stays in a shack and say, oh, they're so poor. Let me donate or let me do something for them. That is sympathy, right? But when you go back and speak to them, they say, oh, no, I have a very big house in the village. I've just come here for 3 months of construction work, so I'm not willing to invest on a, pakka house. That's why I stay here. And I don't bring my children here, right? And that's when you understand that, oh, your thoughts were colored by your own bias, right? So you have to be willing to speak to people, basically. And that is, I think, something that I'm seeing in Gen Z. I know all of you are Gen Z, but you're very hesitant to speak to people. And that is something you have to really break out of. And without hesitation, speak to people from different backgrounds, different rungs of society, right? The more you are savvy with speaking to people, the more you understand life, right? And the better any of your products are going to be. Because at the end of the day, it's about people using them, right?
The last question we can answer. He said, "What is Oedipus?
Okay. So he was just explaining to me what it means.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, I would say definitely you have to follow that process. I don't think if you can have a shortcut on that. If you do that, it's only a compromise because I mean you cannot have a proper product unless you go through these phases. Yeah, I mean it is just if you try to cut short, then obviously you are compromising something.
But what I want to say at this stage is that you should not be unwilling to go back to a particular phase, right? So suppose you've reached the prototype phase and you realize that, oh, I did not empathize enough. you should be willing to go back to that phase at any point in time, right? So it's not like a recipe that, oh, I empathized, I defined, ideated, prototyped, and I'm done. That's not how design works, right? But
Okay, I think we can wind up here. If there are any more questions, please write to PMO team as askpals@gmail.com and we'll answer that. Okay.
Sure. Thank you so much for
And,
all your responses.
Yeah. So now I request Ms. Shobha Ramesh to give the concluding remarks and vote of thanks. PALS champion, Ms. Shobha Ramesh.
Thank you, Robin.
Okay.
Thanks, Ramya, for that wonderful and enlightening session on design thinking and design thinking with empathy. So it's been a lot of points to take back: empathy versus sympathy, iterative aspect of design. So it's not a sequential thing like you would see EDIPT to be, but the EDIPT itself is iterative in nature. So the various aspects of design, from user-centric to people-centric to humanity-centric, understanding the context, need for change, need changes over time. So it's never constant. Why, what, where, how, how things happen. And people, process, associated systems. These are all wonderful concepts to be practiced again and again. Robin, can you just stop the presentation?
Yeah, sure.
Can't see
sharing
myself
it.
talking.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So, I mean, this brings me this reminds me of, a theory in our Vedic scriptures, which is methods of thinking and learning and experiencing. So you would have seen in this whole session that there is a lot of observation. Okay, observation, experiencing, and experiencing being in the user's shoes. There are so many such things that we need to practice over and over again. So I will just quickly go through the Vedic method of learning. So one is from all the sources of learning that you have, which is your textbooks, chat GPTs, AI, whatever you want to use, and get the information. But what do you do with all that information? There's much things beyond that for a design. So what you get from your ready sources is not always a design. So what is over and above it? The second way of learning in the Vedic scriptures is by using all your senses. You see, you hear, you touch, feel, smell. So you have to use your your senses to the extreme extent to really be able to come up with a good design. Because unless you use all your senses, you will not be able to do this. You usually use a logical approach, logical thinking. That is another method, but that is not always a solution. You have to feel that empathy. Okay. Then there is a comparison. Okay, somebody has done something else before. Has it been good, bad? How does one compare with another? You saw the kettle and the coffee filter concept. So you compared. Okay, so you should be able to see what else is something equivalent to this. How does it operate? Is it better than this? It is lesser than this. That is called upamana. Okay, anumana is your logical thinking, and all your senses, pramana is your senses, using your senses. Then you have something that is a presence of something. So you have internet now to deal with. So you have a presence of something. So you will have to deal with that in the design. There is absence of certain things which also you will need to see. In the design you saw of the toilet where there was no street light. There was an absence of something that caused a problem in the design. Okay, so you have to be alert over and beyond your reading from whatever sources you have to do a proper design. That was my understanding all through this session. Thank you so much, Ramya. You brought all the points out so well. Any thoughts, anything, please share over and beyond this. You are welcome to share with our team. With this, I think I can conclude.
Thank you, participants. So the feedback has been posted in the chat box. So please submit your feedback.
Thank you,
Barney sir,
Shubha. I
anything
think we
you
can
want
wind
to
up
add?
now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
No,
I'll
we can
stop
wind up.
recording
Yeah.
and stop the stream also.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Ramya.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shubha.
Thank you,
also.
everyone. Thank you for
Thank
the
you,
Thank you,
everybody.
Ms. Ramya,
Thank you.
for the wonderful session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ramya ma'am, for the excellent session, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.